Hi everyone, welcome to Starfish and SEO Marketing's monthly training. I'm Martha and I'm an account manager here at Starfish, and I'm here to introduce our speaker for today. But before I do, if you've missed any of our previous trainings, feel free to look back on our website located at starfishseo.com/training. There you'll find our previous recorded trainings for you to check out and share with your team. This training will be recorded and uploaded to our website as well. So give it a little bit of time, probably at the end of next week, and it'll be up there. And just a few housekeeping notes. We have muted everyone as you join. You'll be able to unmute yourself at the end of the training session during our Q&A. Okay. Again, thank you for joining us here at Starfish, and I'm thrilled to introduce our speaker today, Paul Farmer, who is our CEO and owner. And for today's topic, he will be going over website accessibility. Paul Farmer is our CEO and leader here at Starfish, over 3 decades of marketing experience in the healthcare industry, as well as retail and restoration. He is a business owner, public speaker, teacher, coach, and creative writer as well. So he comes to us from Kansas City, right, Paul?
That's correct.
Please welcome Paul Farmer.
Thank you so much, Martha. I appreciate it. And thank you guys for working through our tech problems with me there. I did not expect that, but let's jump right on in and scoot through this. I may go a little faster than normal so you don't have to stay on as long. I'm going to give you some sticker shock numbers right out of the gate. A lot of people don't realize that Amazon grossed over $6.9 billion in revenue last year from visually impaired sales. This is not to say that that's the only revenue that they generated in that space, but what's fascinating is if your website is not optimized for this content, you're missing out on a huge audience that you need to be working with. Another thing is last year, there was about an $8 trillion spend globally from persons with disabilities. That is a lot of money that if your website is not optimized, if you're not prepared for mobile ready customers, if you're not prepared for people to navigate through your site without these tools, you're passing up a huge opportunity. And if you don't, possibly your competitor will. There's over 40 million people in the United States alone with a disability. And here's an interesting study. 43% of students that are visually impaired, they only use the internet, as opposed to 95% of students who are not impaired use the internet. What that study shows is that over half the students that are visually impaired choose not to use the internet because it's too complicated for them to navigate and get the data they want. So if that is part of your demographics that you're targeting, then you need to absolutely make that available. It doesn't require a lot of great changes, but there's a few quick things you can do. I want to point out that one of the things that you can do is optimize all of your platforms so that somebody can get in there and read your data. They can transfer links back and forth from their social media to your website. The ADA, the American Disabilities Act, also requires any public sites to be accessible to the disabled community. And one of the other things is if you're in healthcare or if you're in a scenario where this is public access, you are required by law to make this available to those folks. It also, and this is for me, coming from a marketing perspective, this is one of the most important things that I would recommend for people is if you optimize your sites for accessibility purposes, it dramatically improves your SEO and visibility with Google. So if you want Google to start ranking you higher, these are some things you can do. Lastly, it really gives you a hyper-focused approach to your end user. It allows people to recognize that your brand is progressive and really ready to reach out to the large masses. Okay, let's start in with alt text. This is some text that you would put behind an image. And most people don't realize this, but when you see a picture on the internet, a lot of times there's text behind that image so that Google knows what it's looking at. So one thing you might see when somebody does this is this description could be very generic, say a man pushing a wheelbarrow. However, if you're smart, in this case, it's a ServPro customer of ours that has an employee pushing a wheelbarrow, but I would further the description by saying this is a ServPro employee pushing a wheelbarrow on a fire damage job. What you're doing is you're slipping in not only the keywords of fire damage and ServPro, But you could also, right, Google, that's a more accurate description, because a man pushing a wheelbarrow doesn't really probably convey the image on your website. You want to let people know that you're proactively engaging that community and giving them descriptions that specifically apply to what they're doing. Also, the alt text appears when an image doesn't load for a better experience. And this would help you in situations where somebody's using like a Unix software, or when there are a platform, so they can't actually see the image, but it will go on and download the text as what goes to that image. Lastly, it will make it a seamless transition for social media. So if you're sharing this content on social media, if you're pushing it out to other sites, those other sites are going to recognize that as well. And it's a very smooth experience for the end user. So what helps users with disabilities? Well, one thing to remember is not all users have easy access to a mouse or a touch screen. So you can actually program your site so that you can navigate the bulk of it from the keyboard. And it's relatively easy to do, but you need to proactively do that. You can also make sure the text is readable, high contrast, legible fonts. You can use text alternatives for graphs. So if you're giving a lot of statistics and data that are using a graph, you might want to go on and at least repeat those statistics in a way that somebody that cannot see that graph understands what you're presenting. You can also use captions for your audio and video content that you provide out there. And you can have an audio description as well, so somebody can go on and hear what's going on if you're trying to share something visually. And then lastly, avoid CAPTCHAs if at all possible. If it's required, there are a number of alternatives besides CAPTCHA. One thing is you could verify via Google, and that way you only log in once through Google. But CAPTCHAs are very difficult for people that have visual impairments or hearing impairments. So that's something that you can definitely take advantage of, and it's not that difficult to modify. So let's talk about adding video captions to your content. One thing that is really important about this is it aids those with hearing impairments. It allows viewers to watch in public areas. How many times have you been at a restaurant or in a library or a public area where somebody is got their phone cranked up to 10 and it's disrupting the flow of everything around you? You want to go on and get those captions on there so that people can watch from a public area and not disrupt everybody around them. It also boosts your shareability and it increases your audience reach, because there are some people that just don't listen. They just want to read everything from the screen. Then there's also a value in it by adding clarity to your content. It forces you to specify exactly what your goal is and what your purpose is in what you're posting. And then again, from a marketing standpoint, anything that increases the SEO is a huge plus. So that does the same thing. It allows Google to track a lot of times, depending on Google, Facebook, YouTube. They all have algorithms that allow them to track content that you're putting on. So mobile ready sites are another factor that you can do. You want to make sure that people are being able to pick up their phone and find your business. So if they're looking for Siri or Alexa or somebody to contact a business, yours in particular, you want to make sure that they have access from that phone base. It improves your SEO ranking. It allows you to stay ahead of your competitors. If they're not using mobile optimized sites, there's a high probability, which we'll talk about here in a minute, of them going to one of your competitors. So it gives you a much greater chance of conversion. If somebody's ready to look you up online, there's a good chance they're ready to buy from you. Also, it's much easier navigation, its readability and interaction on smaller screens. And then if you want to see if your site is able to process these things, then I would recommend using either Chrome Tools or Google PageSpeed Insights. Both of these will look for problematic areas of your website. They'll give you a little report and let you know how you can correct that. Free tools from Google, and I highly recommend both. So check out these stats. 61% of users avoid problematic websites. 40% of those people, or 40% of users, when they do encounter a problem, they go to a competitor's site. So if you're not available, then your competitor has a great chance of picking up that business. 75% of them favor mobile-friendly sites. 96% of them have taken the time to acknowledge that they've experienced a poorly optimized site, which was difficult for them to navigate. Google has stated that the mobile friendliness is a major ranking factor in the search results page. This is a huge opportunity. If you want to rank higher, Google's going to reward you for optimizing your site with all of the accessibility features that you can add. It also boosts engagement. It aligns with Google's mobile first indexing initiative. So if you want them to rank you higher, then you need to be prepared and do your part. So let's recap that real quick. It increases your inclusivity to a larger audience. It covers all of the necessary requirements for legal compliance. It improves your user experience. It expands your audience and your customer base. There's probably a huge ethical and social responsibility that you would want to take part of in contributing to making your content available out there. And again, from a marketing perspective, it gives you a huge competitive advantage. It future-proofs your site. So if there's any point in the future where you need to share this data with a select audience, you don't have to go back and reprogram everything. You've already done all the heavy lifting. It reduces your bounce rate. It allows for faster load times on your pages, and it improves the SEO. So I hope I went through that at a pace you could track because of time. I was trying to rush, but it does leave us an opportunity for questions here at the end. So does anybody have any questions that'll pop up? I may have to go out of my share mode here to pull the questions up because I don't have the rest of my team here. So bear with me, I'm still here. So you guys will be unmuted now. If you'd like to share anything, we'd love to hear your input and your thoughts. I know that I do have, looks like a question that's been written in here. Let's see if I can open this up. So somebody's asking, so my company provides a lot of services, but they won't allow us to go into, oh, somebody's asking to share the screen again. So let me go back there. So they're asking if their company handles a lot of that, what can they do? And so the first thing I would recommend is going to your company and asking them, hey, is my site mobile ready? I know with a number of companies that we deal with, specifically ServPro actually has an initiative where they will go through and require you to enter alt text into most of the images, whether it's for your blogs or if it's for your even your employee photos or current events, your photo gallery. Those all have an opportunity for you to enter that alt text in there. They've already done the work on the mobile sites, so you're already prepared there. That's already going to be converted for you. And you would ask them if there's a particular area, if you have a customer complain to you, you absolutely want to take it up with your technology department, your IT folks, and ask them. So let's see here. So Kalisha was asking about the recap slide. So there is the information on here. I don't know if that's the slide, Kalisha, but if not, I can send you this deck as well so you can catch up on it. Another question that's coming in here is, who would I contact if I find out that our site is not optimized? There are a number of companies that specialize in this. Of course, I'm never going to pass up an opportunity for a shameless plug. We'd be happy to help you with that. We can walk you through most of the steps here. We've got a team that's ready and prepared to do this. One of the things that you also want to remember is optimizing your site is more than just what we covered. This is a huge part of it, but there's a lot of other things you can do as well. Specifically, there's a famous quote from Mark Twain where he said, I didn't have time to write you a short letter, so I wrote you a long one. And the point in what he was saying is, if you're going to do something that's very impactful, something that really makes a difference, you want to really condense that information into the smallest package possible. It's going to give it a lot more gravitas and a lot more weight. And same thing on your site. You don't want just a bunch of random pages with data on there. It gets spammy content that way. You really want to optimize it so that when somebody's looking for a specific piece of content, they find it on your site. And all of these things we just talked about today will lean into that. They will really promote your ability to show up in Google ranking and Google search. So let's see, do we have any other questions that are popping up? Do you guys have any questions here? I've got a live audience here also.
Accessibility settings that we can optimize within our social platforms. is there a way to do that on our end, or is that stuff kind of already implemented with the infrastructure, say something like a
Great.
Facebook?
Great question. So the question is, this is all applying to a website. What about social media? How does that apply? Are there things that you have to do proactively on your end, or do you leave that up to the actual owners of those, industries, whether it would be Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn? And I don't know all of the factors there because it's a constantly changing landscape there. But one thing is most of them do optimize the transcripts and the subtitles and captions. So they will give you, I know that YouTube does make it a little bit more difficult because you have to manually go in and plug them in where you want it, but it does allow you to do it. Facebook will automatically generate it. I believe Instagram will do the same thing. LinkedIn has some auto captions as well. So the captioning part is pretty easy. The images, you would basically put the alt text in before you embedded it in Facebook. And if I'm not mistaken, they strip that off as well. So they might have people that go through and calculate that. But the last I checked, Facebook did strip off some alt text because people were putting phishing scams in through there as well. But there are other opportunities. And so if you see that something is not going through, I have actually checked with some friends of mine that are visually impaired and said, hey, what's your experience? Where do you find the pain points? And they've been able to share that with me. And so we've been able to optimize some of our sites accordingly. So that's a great question. So Martha, has anything else popped in that you can see?
No, not from my end.
All right. Well, we do record all of these and we'll cut out all of the downtime at the beginning of this, make it easier for everybody. So thank you so much for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. And I apologize again for all the technology problems we had this morning, but hopefully that is the last time we'll have to deal with that. If you enjoy these trainings, we encourage you to follow us on one of our social platforms, like, subscribe, follow. Not to sound like that old geezer that always says smash the like button, but we'd love to have you participate in all of our social conversations and digital marketing platforms. So if you want to tune in next month, we're going to talk about paid ads and how that can be a huge plus for your business. So we look forward to seeing you guys. You guys have a wonderful day.